Okay, so I have this friend called Jenna who made a video explaining like all her traumas and things that she went through in her life, as well as explaining how it impacted her and made her feel bad, as well as how she got over it. Then I realized I haven't uploaded anything in a while, so I was like, why the hell not?
I have crippling depression.
I think everyone gets depressed. What separates what crippling depression is that it cripples you. Basically, you can't like function, you can't create, it leaves your brain just intact enough to overthink every decision that you make, which makes things worse, but at the same time doesn't leave you feeling the satisfaction that you get from things. You no longer get like enjoyment from anything. And sometimes it can break a person and sometimes it can make a person. But only if you get over it. In my case, I didn't. I spent most of my years fighting crippling depression, and sometimes it was easy and sometimes it wasn't. Sometimes I was there for a week and sometimes I was there for months on end. But this time it felt different. But in order to understand why I'm going through this, you kind of have to start understanding me as well as the things that brought it on in the first place. Which is why I broke down the top 5 things that triggered my crippling depression in the past in hopes of further understanding me as a person. Fitting in is something that I never really found easy, and it's something that I still struggle with today. Sometimes it's easy for people to travel and come from different places and just fit in with the culture that they're in. But for me, that wasn't really the case. I was born in Kenya, but then I was raised in America from the month of 2, which makes me more American than I was actually Kenyan. But by the time I came back, I had to explain to them that I'm black and I'm Kenyan, but nobody really made the connection between American. I think Kenyans just find it easy to see a white person and say, wow, this person is foreign, but it's hard to see someone as black and make the connection that he's not from here. In my case, I couldn't really fit in, and most people saw me as weird or a freak, the weirdo who acted different and had like a huge collection of Pokemon cards that they couldn't like understand. Eventually, my mom took me from the school I was in Kenya and took me to her own private school where I was basically the responsible one. I led the whole pack around, I helped everyone as much as I could, and it felt at home because everyone saw me as the principal's kid. But I think the moment I left was the moment that things got worse. I started my secondary education, which most people would call high school, in a private institution, which was pretty well off, pretty accepting. I met a lot of interesting people, but the thing is, I couldn't really fit in. Sometimes it felt like we were completely different cultures. It felt like my understanding and my way of seeing the world was different from theirs, and even though most of them could speak the country's language, I couldn't. And sometimes I would do things that they would just question or find just completely weird or out there. Like for instance, how I told them that I needed to study for a Pokemon tournament, holding a Pokemon book and wondering, what tournament is this? And I said, it's very serious and it's serious matters. I have to make sure I pass this thing at all costs. It is a life and death situation. And they'll just go, all right, well, we wish you the best of luck. If only they knew it was a Pokemon tournament in a video game. Try explaining that to non-gamers. Anyway, so I tried fitting in and I realized that it just wasn't going so well. So I think I met a really good friend of mine called Brian who told me, hey, why don't you try fitting in with the girls? And I think that's when things started getting slightly better. They seemed to be more understanding and more accepting. But one told me that you can't really fit in being yourself. Sometimes you have to be something you're not so that people can like you more. And thus I began wearing a mask. Until one day I went to a psychology class in university that asked a question that sort of broke me in a way. The teacher asked us to describe ourselves in a few words in what our friends see us as. In other words,
who are you?
I couldn't really describe myself at the time because I saw it as a mix of many things. So I thought, hey, why don't I try ask my friends about it? And some described me as, hey, he's the funny guy. Another one was like, he's the party animal, he's always on the dancing disco floor. Another one was saying, oh, he's the smooth talker. He knows how to get all the ladies. Another one was like, oh, he's a great actor, Sometimes we need a stand-in, we just ask good old Annie. But none of them was me. I remember back then I was playing a game called Eden Eternal, and it was probably the first time that truly impacted me in my life. I'd never really played online games before, and this was probably the first, and I met a group of people that also watched anime, which was rare in Kenya at the time. And through them, I kind of learned that, hey, I'm normal. Like, you go through life thinking that you're different or you're weird and that you have to change who you are and your very structure to fit in. But this was the first time that I truly fit in. I didn't need to pretend to be something I'm not. I didn't need to change my likes. I didn't need to look at everybody else and wonder what they were into to get on the new hype train. I was just myself. And I was happy. The things I liked, they wanted to know, and the things that I did, they accepted. And that's when I realized it wasn't really me that had the problem. It was the people I was around. Kenyans can't really accept something that they don't understand. And the only way they'll do that is unless they know it's something different. So all my life I felt like I was being forced to be something that I was not, something that I wasn't happy with. If I didn't act a certain way, then it would be seen as frowned upon. And if I acted a certain way online, it was just accepted. And I said, that can't be normal, right? Then it got to a point where I realized that although a lot of people wanted to teach me Swahili for the sake of being able to communicate better and fit in more, a large percentage of people just wanted me to learn because of the fact that they couldn't fathom the fact that a 20-year-old Kenyan didn't speak their language. And I was like,
oh, hey, fuck you.
That was the moment I stopped learning the language. And anytime people just spoke to me in Swahili, I just responded to them in Japanese. Something along the lines of,
生ゴミ袋に湧いた除草癖のあるクソ虫ですが。
In the end, the game experience and the people I was with at the time taught me that you don't have to fear fitting in. You can just be yourself, and if they accept you, then great, and if they don't, then you'll find other people who will. But pretending to be something you're not doesn't make you happy. It just makes everyone else around you happy. Whenever I think back to it, there've always been 8 friends who could always tell when I was wearing a mask, and no matter how much I tried to fake it, they could always tell that something was off or I wasn't okay. And they would always try their best and know me enough to bring me back to how I used to be. And I always valued these people the most because they always were a piece of my sanity that I never had and could always snap me out of a worse situation. I think that some of us have a fear of solitude, the impending thought of being alone or dying alone, no one caring. For me, it was kind of the thing that terrified me and kept me up at night. The thought that no one really holds me or has me as important to them, that one friend that they can't live without, can't have in their life, kinda made me feel down and depressed in a way. We always watch these sitcoms of the 2 best friends who always stuck together, always together. always helping each other out through thick and thin. And for the longest time, I've always wanted that person that cares about me beyond anything else. But in the end, it was something that I couldn't really achieve for a while. I used to have this one best mate who basically was like a father figure for me when I didn't have one. He taught me everything that there is. He taught me how to pick up girls. He taught me how to dress, how to act like a man, and how I shouldn't like complain about things. How you shouldn't always complain your problems to people because people have their own shit to deal with. And in a way, it made me grow up as a person, imitating him. And for the longest time, he was the stable that held me together as a person. Because I always knew that no matter what, I always had him. And then one day, he went to the UK, and I was alone. I spent the rest of my life trying to fill that void that he left behind, trying to find the next best friend, the next person who would complete me and fill me in. And I never really got around to that. I ended up making friends with people that I didn't even like, but I hoped that they liked me. I ended up making friends with people that I thought I could make a bond with, that I was close to. And they ended up just leaving anyway afterwards. In the end, I think the thing that snapped me out of it was getting hurt by a close friend, someone that I really truly loved. And this person hurt me in a way that left me with scars and trauma that haven't really healed at all. It was around this time that I came to the realization that I'd rather just die alone than have friends that hurt you the way this person hurt me. Because I mean, I'll kid you. Having someone close to your heart and then stab it constantly, repeatedly, hurts like a bitch. Especially when they leave you in the end. Now I kind of just make friends with people who treat me like an actual friend. People who see my worth and treat me with importance, rather than people who just hang with me because they want something. Because in the end, it would be nice to be important to someone, but not so much that I'm living my worst life in a miserable state just to please them. This one is something that I think I still have every now and then, on and off, and it's actually the thing that led to something that I call the Batman effect. You know that moment when you watch Batman and they're like giving him an exposition or like information, they turn around and he's not there anymore? That's the Batman effect. Despite being 6'1", which is a pretty tall guy living in Kenya, I've always felt invisible to most people. Sometimes I would be hanging around having a conversation with people and it just feels like I'm not really there, like I'm seeing everyone with a giant X on their face. And sometimes I would try my best to be part of a conversation which I feel is being dominated by others or going nowhere, and I just disappear. And by the time they turn around to say, "What do you think?" I'm already gone. I think this kind of came around due to the fact that my best mate, who I've been with for years, was a rich playboy ladies man who got all the girls. And my current close friend is a smooth, charming, suave-talking, great personality type of guy who brings all the girls to the yard. And in the end, their charm and personality and burst ended up dominating the whole conversation and everything. And it kind of made me feel small, like I was a shadow, not really to be noticed, but someone just there like an accessory. I understand that everyone has that one person that they like and that person they favor more than others, but sometimes it can feel kind of messed up when people value others more than you. And you just feel like, why am I even here when clearly this person is all you really need in your life? And it kind of makes you feel invisible, like you're not really there, but just there. Like you wouldn't really make a difference if you were left or not. This ended up leading to one of my worst traits that I still possess today called the Batman effect, where I disappear for extremely long extended periods of time just to see if people would even notice or if they'd even care that I was gone. Sometimes people do notice and they tend to ask, hey, where have you been, or are you doing alright? And for those who do that, I end up coming back, and for those who barely do notice, then I see it as my time to go then. I guess the feeling of being invisible and not seen as important or priority is kind of the thing that makes me want to leave, because why stay when they have more important people to talk to? I'd rather be somewhere where I'm seen as important. Someone where sometimes I get lucky and I do find that place that treats me like home, in which case I can stay and truly be myself, and sometimes I don't, and those are the places that I end up just disappearing on, and then I stay gone until I just fade from all of their memories. And I lost a lot of friends due to this, because I just kind of felt like they didn't really see me as important. I think this is kind of the reason why I like the anime Kuroko no Basuke, because he basically lived his life in a star team with the most talented players ever, and even though he was just one simple person with one skill and not really any special traits, he ended up, because of his perseverance, he ended up climbing to the top and winning the championship. He did it because he had friends who were with him, who were willing to push him past his weaknesses and boundaries into something even better. And despite people only having him around just for the sake of using him for his talents, he ended up finding people that could really shine in his life and brought him into the spotlight and eventually be appreciated by everybody around him. In a way, I kind of relate to Kuroko, where I always have that one friend who outshines me, and I end up just being the shadow that just compliments them afterwards. But I don't really think it's a bad thing being in the shadow, just so long as I'm seen as important. I think the reason I got over this feeling of depression is by not caring. During that really close friendship that I had that broke me, I just realized that I just need to stop caring, that I've been caring all this time about what people saw me as, what they felt I was. Like I needed to be important in every single person's life, and I was like, why? If I'm important to someone, then they'll be there for me. When I'm important to them, they know where to find me. If they know me well enough, they'll notice when I'm not okay, and if they like me, then they'll want to hang out with me. The thing about friendship is it's not about what you can give, but also what they can give you. And sometimes being a good friend isn't about doing the best that you can do, but realizing when someone's good for you or not. I think that's one of the reasons I like hanging out with Bunny so much. She's one of the few people outside of the gaming clan I'm in that actually wants to hang out. She's always asking to play games together, always sending friend requests, always saying, let's do stuff, always starting conversations. It feels nice having someone who wants you to be around and wants you to hang out with them, rather than always being the one starting the conversations. It's a nice relief as well as a change of pace, having someone who wants you to be around than having to put in all the effort to be wanted around. I think we all get depressed over love somewhere down the line. And until we do learn to love ourselves, it's really tough road ahead for us. A lot of people look for love in the wrong places, and some people look for love in the wrong people. But it's only when you truly appreciate yourself that you can truly learn to be comfortable with this. I think I always grew up in a tough family with many problems and quirks that sort of seem as a disadvantage, but African families, or rather Kenyan families, can be very big in a sense. We're always thinking about the family and not just about ourselves. When a relative asks for something, you have to consider them. We're always family oriented, and it's only the influence from Western sides that kind of taught us how not to care about family so much. I always thought as a kid that love was about giving as much as you could and giving them everything that you had, and then eventually you'll get it all back in return. But there's something that you realize that you can't just give everything that you own and everything that you have and expect the same. Because sometimes people just can't give exactly what you're giving them. You have to match the pace of what they're giving you instead of overwhelming them with every single thing that you own and expecting some unrealistic measurement back from them. Sometimes people can't give that amount of love back. It's an unrealistic expectation to always expect that you give something and receive something in return afterwards. I think the thing that taught me what love truly meant was an online relationship I had with a girl from the UK. We dated on and off for about 3 years, but she probably taught me the purest definition of what love meant. Always being there, unconditional care and attention. Something that I never really felt I got living in Kenya. And it was through her that I was able to understand the true definition of what love actually is. Unconditional, uncontrolled, unreasonable, but also beautiful in the end. I think my depression came about when I started seeing myself as less than anything. I started making excuses like I can't afford a girlfriend at the moment, or I can't take care of one, I'm not interesting enough, I'm not exciting enough. But I think the thing that helped me got over it was when I realized that I can actually get any girl that I wanted so long as I put in the effort. Because it's not about having the money or the wealth or the success or the looks, but it's always about confidence. If you're willing to go the extra mile to be there for someone, and if they can see that confidence in you, then eventually you can get any girl you want. It wasn't that I couldn't get one because I didn't know how to, but I didn't get one because I didn't want one at the time. And it kind of helped me get over that phobia of being loveless afterwards. The last one is something that I think I struggle with the most, and it's something that's frequent every single month that I go through. I remember someone in my life, possibly Robin Williams, once said to be kind to angry people because they're the ones who need it the most. My mother always taught me with the philosophy of be kind to everyone that you meet, even if they're nice to you or even if they're wrong to you, whether they're good to you or whether they're bad, whether they're angry to you or make your life suffer, to always be kind to everyone. Because the one thing you'll learn in life is that you never know who someone is going to be down the road. You might be terrible to that one person in your life only to realize that, hey, remember that banker, the one who's in charge of your bank account? Yeah, that was Timmy used to bully in high school. Haha, you're going to have a shit time. My mother has always had a lot of people that were nice to her because she was always kind to them during her high school days. And I think that's a philosophy I've always stood by. And even though I had moments I was being bullied in high school, I always made it a point to clear the air before I left them. And now even if I do meet my bullies down the road, I always say hey and we have a good laugh about the good old days, the shit that happened before. I was very immature in my youth though. And one of the things that hurt the most was when you'd make so many close friends and connections with people only to lose them halfway down the line. It feels like you put in so much effort into a friendship or a relationship only to have it lost afterwards. And then you don't even talk to these people afterwards or even see them, and you're just like, what's the point? Why be nice to someone that you're not even gonna see in 2 or 3 years from now? Why spend so much money on someone that isn't even gonna care in a few years? What's the point of helping out someone so much with your heart and soul only to realize that they're not gonna be in your life very long? There wasn't a point. I'd see so many people spending so much on friendships or people, relationships, and then they don't last afterwards, and I'd always wonder, was it worth it really in the end? I think to explain how I got over this feeling, I'd have to go back to a story that happened a few years ago. I think we'll call this person Ivy. And when I met her, I basically thought she was the definition of everything that was good in the world. She was really sweet, charming, caring. She cared about all her friends, went the extra mile, but on top of that, she was extra talented. She was not only a model, but she was also an actress, a singer, and multi-talented. Being her friend was one of the things I cherished most in life, and for her, she always cherished me because I was the person who stood by her side and gave her all the advice she needed when she was down. One day after a really bad breakup, I think we started getting closer as friends, and I started seeing a side of her that I didn't expect to see before. She was drinking, partying, and I realized she wasn't the good girl image that I thought she was, but that she was awesome. She was basically the rocker girl that we all knew but didn't really thought was real. But then one day, she introduced me to a friend of hers who wasn't really the smartest person I knew. Not exactly the smartest tool in the shed, if you know what I'm saying. Basically, he gave her a lot of weird advice and weird things. He was always the let's go out and get stoned or go partying kind of person rather than a good influence. One day he was giving her some really bad advice that I felt wasn't good for her at the time, so I told her about it. I said, maybe this guy isn't like the best person to be giving you this type of advice. And as a result, she made her choice. She chose the party animal over me, and she cut me off. I never saw her again, and she never responded to me since. It felt kind of off, knowing that the girl you saw as everything good in the world would betray you as such. It left me feeling maybe that goodness doesn't truly exist in anyone. That maybe if you do meet that person down the road who you think, I can't believe so many terrible things are happening to them, that they don't deserve it because they're so good, maybe it's just karma's way of getting back at them for that one terrible thing they did down the line that you just don't know about. About 2 years passed since Ivy cut me off, and one day she just called me out of the blue and unexpectedly cared a lot. She started asking me if I was okay, if everything was well. I told her I was down about something, and she was super supportive and gave so much advice that it's like I couldn't recognize her really. And I kind of asked her why she's being so nice and supportive, and she told me it's because you did the same for me. And she never forgets that person who was always there for her the most. I think at that moment I realized that just because you're nice to someone and they're not there in your life anymore doesn't mean that they'll forget everything that you did for them. The memory of every single thing that you helped them with, the emotional breakdowns that you were there for, the heartbreaks that you witnessed, and the times that you were there for them when no one else was. Those are the memories that stick with people the most in their lives. And that you shouldn't be nice to someone whether they're going to be in your life or not. But you should be nice to someone because of the memory that you leave upon them. They'll always have a piece of you edged into their heart and into their memories for the rest of their lives. And it was this that taught me to be nice to everyone, because it's not about what they give you afterwards or how long they're in your life, but how much of an impact you have on them that they'll keep with them for the rest of their lives. And if I can help someone, even in the smallest way, then at least I know that I've done my part. I tend to go through all the different fears from time and time again, and sometimes it's hard to control them, and sometimes it's easier when I figure it out. I think my fear of being forgotten is mostly strongest than all of them, but once I figure out the root cause of it, then I know I'm able to look past it. But that just makes my current predicament a lot stronger than the rest. I remember it first hitting me when I reinstalled the Windows on my computer, and it was nice and fresh and faster than ever before, and for some reason I was just not satisfied. I think my aunt came from the States with a new pair of shoes that I was really asking her for a while, and despite getting them, I was like, oh, nice, cool. Never really felt anything afterwards. But I think the real nail in the coffin is when two of the biggest games that I was looking forward to, one of them being a zombie genre that I am a massive zombie fanatic, came out, and the other one being a really awesome, cute sort of slasher game that I was also looking forward to, and I tried them both thanks to a buddy lending me his account for a few days, and I just wasn't happy. You really know that you're depressed as a gamer when you're not excited for video games, the thing that you value the most. And I realized that there might be something wrong with me. So I do what I normally do. I take a break from the gaming clan for about a week to try and figure myself out and figure out the problems. And despite going through all the process, trying to figure out what exactly is wrong with me, I had literally no idea. I tried asking, was it that I was lacking friends? No, I have a lot more friends than I did before. Was it because no one cared about me? No, I have a lot of people who genuinely care about me and their lives and treat me with lots of care and respect. Was it the fear of dying alone? No, I think a lot of people would care if I went missing right now all of a sudden. And the more I thought about it, I realized I had no freaking idea what was wrong with me. I wasn't lacking anything, but despite all that, I didn't feel happy. I wasn't satisfied. I felt like there was something missing that I couldn't fill, and it was preventing me from being happy. And as much as I tried racking my brain around, I just could get to the actual conclusion. I kept asking myself the same questions over and over again, what was wrong, and I just couldn't get it. And then that's when I kept feeling provoked by my own mind at the same time, like it was asking me questions, trying to figure out the solution that it just didn't know. And it was like,
why, Mr. Anderson? Why? Why? Why do you do it? Why? Why get up? Why keep fighting? You believe you're fighting for something, for more than your survival? Can you tell me what it is? Do you even know? Is it freedom or truth? Perhaps peace? Could it be for love? Illusions, Mr. Anderson, vagaries of perception. Temporary constructs of a feeble human intellect trying desperately to justify an existence that is without meaning or purpose.
and in the end, I realized that it could be more serious than I thought. And when, just like a disease that you haven't cured yet, it got worse. I know deep down that everyone in my clan genuinely cares about me, and as well as 2 other friends, I know if I dropped dead the next day, then they would be really sad about it. But I knew that I needed to figure out exactly what was wrong without bothering them too much, because I kind of care about them. And so I started reaching out to people, and it always ended up like,
who broke it? I'm not mad. I just want to know.
I did. I broke it.
No, you didn't. Tom?
Don't look at me. Look at Ben.
What? I didn't break it.
Huh, that's weird. How'd you even know it was broken?
Because it's sitting right in front of us and it's broken.
Suspicious.
No, it's not.
I have crippling depression.
If it matters. Probably not, but April was the last one to use it.
Liar, I don't even drink that crap.
Oh, really? Then what were you doing by the coffee cart earlier?
I used the wooden stirrers to push back my cuticles. Everyone knows that, Jerry.
Let's just say it didn't go well. And that pissed me off. In the end, it just started getting worse and worse as days got by when I couldn't solve it or figure out what it is. And clearly my friends weren't gonna help me because I was crying out to them that I was definitely depressed, and they just kept brushing it off. So I just ended up devolving worse and worse into my state, and eventually I stopped hanging around the people I used to and started hanging around people with positive energy and feedback, people who were willing to actually show the love and support that I needed to get through this at the time. But as for everyone else, I just put on the mask that I had always before and dusted it off and pretended like everything was normal, even though I clearly wasn't. Sometimes I would slip up and I would act out of character, hoping that someone would pick up or notice, and they just didn't. And so I started the Batman effect and started withdrawing bit by bit from people I felt were too busy living their own lives and dealing with their own shit to be the comfort I needed to pick me back up again. I know the clan will always be there for me, but I felt like it was something I needed to figure out without bothering them that did so much for me at the time. And I know it's not reasonable to look at people like, look at me, I'm the one with the problems now. Because everyone has their own life and problems to deal with. And so I was like a moth, you know, floating around places I felt gave the most fucks about me at the moment, and flying away from places that I knew didn't care or even want to help me at the time. And I know it's easy enough for a 5-year-old to sit down and write, hey, I got your back. I'll always be there in case if you need it. But when it comes to actually seeking them out for help, they either tell you a long explanation of something you already know, or they're too busy to actually give you the help you need. Or they're so surrounded by their own problems to even care about your own, and they just want you to solve it for them. And so I stopped feeling like a priority to everyone, and my withdrawal ended up getting worse. If I had to say why I decided to make this video, was because I felt like I hadn't posted anything in a while, and I wanted to like express myself as well as explain to the people so that they knew. I feel like I owe my clan like a lot for everything they did for me, and it wasn't really fair just disappearing on them all of a sudden without like relying on them or telling them what was going on really. And I knew I had gotten a lot of supporters at the time, like supporting my videos and watching and waiting for the next thing and asking me when's the next upload coming, and I wanted to like explain that. And the other was just because I just got really tired and annoyed with people I did reach out to, and they just brushed it off as normal depression when it's clearly freaking not. Crippling depression breaks you down, it stops you from functioning. You feel like you can't be normal, you can't be yourself, you can't do basic things that normal people should be able to do. It feels like the world is against you and you can't think straight. Your mind starts playing tricks against you and it starts becoming your own enemy. And sometimes you just need a little bit of clarity or someone else to say that they care or that they matter. And sometimes you just need someone to just be there and give you some sense of clarity and say that they're there and that they care and that they have your back, and actually be there without actually putting much effort into it. At the same time, I just felt like I wasn't getting it at the time. You can't create, you can't get joy from like things that normally give you joy. You watch series and it just feels like it's just there. You play games and you feel like you just ain't getting the satisfaction you want anymore, and you're just constantly just miserable, like you're living life and you're just existing, but you're not. I am not okay. And that's okay. Life isn't gonna stop going on just because you're down and depressed. It keeps moving. And I can either just sit there and wait for something to happen, or I can pick myself up and keep moving along with it. And so I just decided to just try. Even if I am not myself yet, and even if I am still crippling depressed, I have to at least try and move forward. I'll be trying my best to make more gaming videos moving on, but you never know, maybe people like hearing this version of me that they never heard before. If they do, I might even make more videos like this in future. I think I've always gotten used to having low self-esteem in the years, but I think there's one thing that I'm now more certain of than I ever have been. Ore ni taskete noa, ore dakeda. The only person who can save me is me. Week review. Week review. So like I said, this video was supposed to be done in 2 weeks, but ended up taking 3 weeks to make. Mostly because of unexpected reasons that came up that were out of my control. I ended up doing the audio for this video 3 weeks ago, but haven't really had the time to edit most of it. And the times that I did have had such a huge impact on my emotional state of mind that I was really struggling to get myself in the right frame of thought to actually edit. Sometimes I would take about an hour trying to edit, only to realize that it's not possible. Other times I would edit 1 hour a day because I felt so emotionally unstable. listening to the audio back again and then getting lost in thought. And then the other part was just the fact that I have natural ADHD, so then concentration went out the window. However, a lot has changed in 3 weeks, so I thought I would add like a little bit at the end to get everyone up to speed. So first off, despite not fully curing my crippling depression, I can say that it's gotten to a point where it's more manageable than it was before. And I can say that I'm sort of getting back on the track of being normal again. So then how did I get over this crippling depression? Well, simple. Turns out that anger and frustration are a good motivator to get yourself back up again. There was so much shit happening in May that I basically have enough content to become a swoozy YouTuber. But on the other hand, it just ended up getting worse into June when we thought it was all over. Well, it wasn't. But I don't want to talk about it. It's a lot. Main point is I ended up finding a good community of people to become friends with, and every single one of them was nice and very kind and inviting to me. Until one day that server got completely Thanos snapped and everyone just went into the ether. I've been trying to get contacts with them bit by bit, but it's kind of weird just randomly DMing someone like, hey, how's it going? Let's be friends. And you're a complete stranger to them. Let's just say it's not been easy. The other thing that really helped me out was just having friends who were with me. I realized that some people cared about me a lot more than they implied, and that helped me get a bit of my self-worth back in a way. I found out that even though most of my friends were busy with life and work, they still cared to an extent to always check up every now and then, which is unexpected but very nice to know. I found out that some people didn't generally hate me, despite the fact that I always thought they did. I wonder why. I ended up getting closer with Bunny as a friend, and we ended up gaming and talking a lot more than usual outside of her streams. And honestly, it was getting really well. Until we started talking about politics and religion, in which case we ended up having a 3-hour argument about Australia is not the most racist country in the world. Changed her mind. I also got in contact with an old friend of mine who I've known for about 4 years, but they've always been so busy dealing with things in life that they never really had time to talk or hang out with me. But it feels like even though I spent most of my life looking for that bond, that person I can connect with and call a true friend, was out there. And no matter how many times I tried to find them, it felt like I never could. I think with my friend Nat it wasn't about she wasn't the right person, but rather it wasn't the right time for us. And as she got more freer and more mature, I felt like I finally found that friend who I can truly be close to, who truly cares and just hang out, even if it's just listening to music on Discord or watching a movie or something. Someone who truly appreciates that I'm alive and that I exist. And I also found someone else who truly valued me as a friend, and although we're still getting to know each other, I have very high hopes for this one. They seem very special in a way, and I'm looking forward to what we become in the next few years from now. Obviously, I got back in touch with the clan again and we got to do stuff, in which case they forced me against my will back into Destiny. And even though I quit the game for obvious reasons of price tag, it really helped me rediscover my passion and the things that I loved most about the game. And it acted like a really good distraction as well as a center to keep my mind off of the negativity of everything that was going on at the moment. But if I had to say what truly helped me get over my crippling depression, it would have to be just the support of my friends who were around me at the time, who helped me through and through, gave me the care and attention that I needed to pull through. But most importantly, the very obvious fact that the last 5 days before I released this video were complete and utter shit. And it has been drama filled and hurt filled back to back to back to back. And if you're a psychologist and know how depression works, then you can know that this shit week has probably been the thing that pushed me so far down into depression that I was finally able to make the leap to come back and recover. It's kind of funny how that works, really. But anyway, I don't know if this is a video that people would like or if people want more of my thoughts put out there on the channel, but what I can tell you is that making this video, the editing process, the research, as well as the time put and spent into it, has been the most difficult thing that I've ever had to do in my entire life. So if I disable comments for the video, please understand it's not that I didn't want anyone to say anything, but rather I just couldn't mentally handle it. I'm not used to being this vulnerable, especially not on the internet. And it's really been an emotional roller coaster for me. Making the audio to making the videos and the edits, as well as the distractions and the drama that constantly got in the way during the editing process. But to all those who genuinely did care about me and do care about me after watching this video, the only thing I can really say is thank you. And no matter what you're going through, no matter how hard or how strong the struggle is, so long as you know that there's someone out there who understands, then I honestly believe that you can pull through and you can get through it. So hang in there and don't give up on yourself.